The G7 summit this year was hosted by Italy in Apulia from June 13 to June 15. The summit reaffirmed the shared commitment around three key areas whose implementation will rely also on multilateralism and on the UN action. First, political leadership to tackle ongoing conflicts. Second, addressing global challenges with renewed impetus, launching concrete deliverables. And third, trust and solidarity with the global partners. First of all, the leaders reiterated a clear message of support for Ukraine by pledging additional $50 billion to Ukraine's military budget and reconstruction needs, and they also called upon all member states to take a constructive role in supporting a comprehensive, just and lasting peace for Ukraine. On the conflict in Gaza, the G7 leaders condemned once again Hamas' brutal attack of October the 7th, pressing the parties to accept the deal for a ceasefire in Gaza, for the release of all hostages, and for a credible path toward peace as outlined in the UN Security Council Resolution 2735. The leaders also stressed the vital role played by UNRWA and other UN entities. They need to deliver aid effectively. They stated their commitment to the vision of a two-state solution. In this context, the leaders voiced concern about the situation along the Blue Line, recognizing the stabilizing role played by Lebanese armed forces and UNIFIL. On addressing global challenges, a high number of deliverables were achieved all across the 17 SDGs. Africa was confirmed at the top of the agenda. On finance, I want to underscore the $70 billion over the next 10 years to boost the World Bank's lending. On infrastructures, an agreement was reached to boost G7's Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment, the GPII, and to further align it with the EU Global Gateway and with Italy's Mattei Plan for Africa. On food security, I want to highlight the launch of the G7 Apulia Food Systems Initiative for multi-stakeholders partnerships and investments. On energy, the G7 launched the Energy for Growth in Africa in partnership with the UNDP, with the 7 African countries already announced as partners. On digital, tech and artificial intelligence, the G7 launched the Toolkit for AI in the public sector and welcomed Italy's initiative for the AI Hub for Sustainable Development in cooperation with UNDP, with a special focus on Africa. The ethical dimension of the AI was a centerpiece of our presidency, emphasized by the intervention of His Holiness Pope Francis. We have also stepped up the G7 action around migration, launching the first G7 coalition to prevent and counter the smuggling of migrants, and around disabilities, with the first ever dedicated G7 meeting next October. Finally, it was one of the most inclusive G7 summit ever, with the invitation extended to 10 countries from Africa, Asia and Latin America, and of several financial institutions, enriched by the engagement of the UN Secretary General, who called upon the G7 leaders to accelerate on climate, energy, finance, and the reform of the international financial architecture. The work of the G7 presidency will continue with the more ministerial meetings, including a G7 foreign ministers meeting to be held here in New York during the high-level week. We hope that this global momentum will soon reach New York ahead of the important Summit of the Future in September.